like technically now, but. Hello, can everyone hear me? Okay, awesome, let's get this started. Hello, everybody. I am this year's Elections Administrative Chair, Haley Sato, and today I have the pleasure of moderating this event and giving our wonderful candidates the opportunity to let you know more of what they stand for. These candidates today have been filing for proper inclusion on the ballot, and we have Ismail Diop and Terrell Stallworth. This year, voting will open on the 20th and proceed through the 24th. Let me be the first to thank you for your attendance. Remaining civically engaged together is how in community we can work through a better UW-Tacoma experience. The format for the debate today will be as follows. There will be an opening statement and introductions, which will be 1 minute and 30 seconds per candidate. Then there will be a coin flip to determine the first answer for each question. The question format will go 1 minute and 30 seconds for the first answer, then a candidate response for 45 seconds, and closing statements for 30 seconds. After the 6 questions that will be asked, there will be 15 minutes of audience Q&A. The rules have been provided in advance for candidates, and they will include time limits that have been given in advance for candidates as previously discussed. The timekeeper in front of us, everyone say hi to Connor and Buddy, will alert candidates when they have 30 seconds remaining. Candidates should adhere to this time, and if they exceed their time, they will be kindly asked to finish their thought. Candidates should abide by all policies and procedures laid out in the elections candidate packet, and candidates may use technology during the debate, and they are able to take notes on the notepads provided. Candidates may not interrupt one another, and candidates may be asked to respond to the question if not answered directly. That brings us to our opening statements. Terrell, do you mind going first?
Sweet. All right, ready? Thank you, everyone. My name is Terrell Stallworth. I'll be running as student body president on the ACT ticket. So our campaign is built on 3 principles: accountability, consistency, and transparency. And we're applying those things to the main issues that we see on campus day to day, those being food, parking, and housing. Of course, the biggest problem with those is that those are only they're only solvable at the city level. But as city liaison, I've built real results and real connections with the city council and the mayor. I believe that I'm in the best position possible to actually deliver all my campaign promises and enact real change for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrell.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? My name is Ismail Diop, and I'm running for president of student government on the ASUWT ticket. And the main thing that I noticed that our generation goes through is that we are scared of the opportunities we may not have in our future, whether it be because of AI, whether it be because of how labor is treated nowadays. I know I can help all of you guys in this room with a way to get into these private businesses across the street. I've spent over a year going from here all the way to Bothell at every single business conference, talking to investors and all the such. And I know how to bring those opportunities here. I've talked to the Chamber of Commerce, I've talked to every business owner you could think of on the street and everywhere else. So if you vote for me, you're voting for more job opportunities.
Thank you. So now for answering order, we will now decide with a coin flip. Do you guys mind calling?
Heads.
Tails? Oh, nice. Tails.
So that brings us to our first question. The questions this year have been taken directly from student feedback, so please know that these are representative of the voices that we've received. The first question is, what are the most crucial issues University of Washington Tacoma students are facing?
Like I answered it before, we're us, the students, we come here to learn, we come here to build our future, and the step after education is to get into your career, right? So that is the number one problem. That's why we all came here. We all came here to follow our dreams, to learn what we are interested in, and then make a future out of that. So that is what I'm spending if you vote for me, and even if you don't, that is what I'm gonna be doing, but the vision will be smaller because I will have less resources to complete it, but I will complete it.
Thank you for your response. Terrell, you now have 45 seconds to either respond or present your own answer to this.
Can I just present my own? So yeah, the accountability and consistency and transparency ticket, I think the issues that we're focusing on are the biggest issues on campus. Every time I've went to an event, every time I've talked to a student, they're always talking about food, parking, and housing. And I think it's really important to focus on those issues because those have very drastic effects on students' abilities to stay in school. You know, if you can't afford your rent, how are you gonna stay in class? If you're thinking about whether going to school or paying for parking, how are you going to go to class? I think these are the biggest issues students face on a day-to-day basis, and they're very manageable, and those are the things that we're gonna be working on for next year.
Thank you. So we will now move on to closing comments for this question.
So my closing comments my main reason for doing this and for running on that is because I hate seeing people in despair for whether it be your future. I want everybody to be hopeful. I want our generation to know that our future is bright no matter what you see on the news, no matter how you think how we all know the economy is going. There are opportunities out there, and that is what I want to bring and show to you guys. I want to bring it, and I don't want to, it's not advocating, I want to build something, and I want it to impact and help everyone in this room and everyone in this school.
Terrell?
The ACT ticket is committed to action. We will leverage all our connections with the city and at the state level with all the legislators that we know to really make a dent within these issues. And I think that's really one of the big things that the ACT ticket is doing. Me as president, again, just leveraging our relationships and our connections.
Thank you. For this question, Terrell, you will respond first. You will have 1 minute and 30 seconds. In what ways do you plan to uphold accountability and transparency in student government?
Yeah, so a very specific thing that I want to implement is having every single student government member post just an update on what they've been doing to their social media. We already kind of do reports to our advisors and our administration, so this isn't a new or crazy thing. It's just something to hold people accountable. If someone doesn't post a report, then the public can call them out on it, and that gives them a great incentive to actually do their job and fulfill their job capabilities.
You now have 45 seconds to respond.
All right. So how you're gonna hold me accountable is that if I fail, you'll know, and I'll try again and again and again to bring this program. I do not quit, especially with this. I will not quit, and I will bring up, if I run into a wall, I'll tell you guys, and that's pretty much it. I'm running just to help, that's it, yeah.
All right, we will now proceed to closing statements for this question. Terrell, you have 30
Is
seconds
there a closing statement?
for this question.
Yeah, since we're running on accountability, I think accountability is extremely important, especially considering students' feelings about student government currently. We really want to be transparent and we really want to communicate with the student body, not only because what we're doing benefits them, but also student involvement helps us out. We want students to be participating in our programs, in our task forces, so we think that there's a really great incentive to improve accountability among student government.
Ismail?
Well, in terms of accountability, like I told you, I'm not just gonna advocate, I'm gonna build. So when I fail, it's very clear. And that's pretty much my take. And I don't hide from my failures, so I'll take all the responsibility. So if that's who you're voting for if you vote for me.
We will now move on to the third question, where you will be answering first. How do you plan to navigate conflicts of interest between student opinion and institutional policy, and how will you advocate for student voices at the administrative level? 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Pretty much. You guys, if you guys elect me, I'm your voice. So when I talk to all higher up administration, all that stuff, I'm your voice. So my number one mission is to listen to you guys. My number one mission is to say what you guys feel and what you guys know and what you guys want. So that's pretty much it.
Terrell, you will now have 45 minutes to respond. Or 45 seconds, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is absolutely just about building connections and really mediating between the two groups. I've worked down at Olympia and I've talked to legislators, Democrats and Republicans. It's just about finding a balance and really trying to make a connection between both parties and see what they really want and trying to find the compromise in the middle ground. After my experience talking to legislators and working as a city liaison this year and talking to city council and the mayor, I think I'm very capable of talking to administration and seeing exactly what they want and balancing that out with student interest.
Thank you. We will now proceed to closing statements for this question.
All right, now I understand this. So pretty much, I have experience not with the government so much, I'm an outsider in terms of student government, but I've experienced making deals with businesses, right? And I understand talking to someone, knowing their interests, balancing yours, and making a good deal for both of us. So I will use those skills and transfer it over to this new field.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just very excited to get started on this process, especially since I've presented at City Council, I've educated them on exactly what student interests are, and I just think a lot of it is just an informational gap. Administration, a lot of times, they have no one to talk to regarding a lot of these student issues. So once this information is presented to them, we'll have a lot of new opportunities to exactly see how student life can be improved.
Thank you. Now, this is one of the most submitted student questions, so I'm excited to see your responses on this one. Charlie, you'll be going first for this one. What is your view on generative AI use in our institution?
Yes, so the ACT ticket does not support generative AI. We do not use generative AI in any of our posts, any of our promotional materials whatsoever. It's a fairly clear and cut stance. It harms the environment, and at least business backing wise, we've seen some negative aspects of it as well as exactly where the money is going in regards to that. Yeah, it's a pretty clear cut stance from us, from the ACT ticket.
Thank you. You now have 45 seconds to respond.
How I see AI use and generative AI is that I use it and I use it in a way that will create more opportunities. I want to use it in a way that will create opportunities for students. And I do acknowledge that it, in fact, does hurt the environment. And I do acknowledge that, in fact, that the big businesses that own AI companies are not morally right or centered. But I still know it has the opportunity to give more opportunities to us, the students, and that's how I'll use it.
We will now proceed to closing statements for this piece.
Yeah, like I said, we don't support AI. I think it's very important to really look into the things that we're doing and the companies we're supporting, especially when, those companies could be supporting other things that we don't like, things such as ICE and things of that nature. We really need to look into the things that we're putting our time, effort, and money into. I think AI is one of those things.
Thank you.
Well, pretty much when it comes to AI is, we live in this day and age, which means although the tools are corrupt and those who made it are also very flawed people, it is the tools of the time. And I'll use the tools of the time to solve the problems that we have as students.
Thank you both for your responses. We will now proceed to the fifth question. This was another very popular student-submitted question. What are the main objectives you plan to address during your service, and how will that improve the UWT experience?
Well, I'll go back to it. So the main problem I want to address is that I want every student in this school to have actual experience within private businesses, and I already have an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce to use them as a network and supply students with projects and internship possibilities with all the private businesses that are connected to the network of the Chamber of Commerce, which is a fantastic deal, and I will do it even if I'm not elected. But if elected, I will make a deal with the school, and you guys will get those internships in those rooms for just credits. You guys are gonna get credits, and you're gonna be in the room of all the businesses that you'd wanna be hired from.
Thank you. Terrell, you now have 45 seconds to respond.
Yeah, so regarding, I'm really glad that you brought the internships aspect. I think that's something that we also want to focus on. So of course our main priorities are food, parking, and housing. Part of that is if we increase the amount of parking that there is on campus, students will stay on campus for longer, and that will increase internship opportunities. Students will go out in the community and they'll talk to the local businesses, they'll talk to the local political organizations that are around here, and they'll get what I like to call organic internships, where instead of applying online or applying to a random business that they don't know, they'll actually talk to people that they care what their message is, and they'll talk to groups and organizations which they think really represent them, and they'll work with people that they actually care about.
Thank you. We will now proceed to closing statements for this question. Ismail?
Well, my approach is a little different. I'm gonna bring them to you. That's how I see it. I'm gonna bring these opportunities to you, and if you want it to you, you vote for me.
Yeah, and just on the other priorities, so we had food and housing as well. I want to expand what we already have. So the food cupboard, the food pantry, and then the Nourish food truck, I want to put more resources towards those things. We've seen that those things already work on campus. And then housing, I want to support the local organizations which are already doing a lot for housing. We have really good tenant laws in Tacoma. It'd be great if we could expand those out to the rest of Pierce and King County.
Thank you. As we're moving to the final question, you will both have the full minute and a half for your response, and then an additional 30 seconds for closing statements. What do your first 30 days in office look like, and in what ways will you build trust in student government?
Our first 30 days in office is really going to be working very hard to get this program off the ground immediately. So I already have the plan out. So first off, I'm going to start sending emails to people who can at the school who work in pretty much HR and legal department, so we can build out the foundation for this program legally. Second off, talk to the dean, get him to say yes. Third off, I already got the network, and that will probably be done. I could probably do that with the help of everybody in 15 days instead of 30.
Tola, you may proceed with your response, or your answer.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't think the 30 days in which I start office will be too much different from what I'm doing now. A lot of it is going to be the same stuff that I'm already doing advocacy work, talking to city officials, talking to the mayor, going down to Olympia occasionally and talking about basic student issues. I think something that we really need to focus on as soon as, if I get elected, as soon as I get into office, is really making sure that we hire our task forces, making sure that the Senate positions are filled out, making sure that every student on campus is as represented as possible and everything is working extremely smoothly. And then we could really start firing off on, again, the biggest issues on campus, those being food, parking, and housing. Working on the housing initiative that we have with Tacoma for All and the SAFE initiative, making sure that people have tenant rights so that the students in the area actually feel like that they could afford to go to school. Possibly increasing street parking times so that street parking actually matches or even exceeds the amount of time that you could stay in class. Using the old convention center perhaps as kind of like a parking zone, a permit pass type thing with discounted rates. Again, providing more resources to the food options that we already have on campus. Those are the things that I really want to key in on.
Thank you. We will now proceed to 30-second statements. You can use that to either close the debate as a whole or specifically close this question. Please start.
So I'm just going to restate it. If you vote for me, you're voting for more opportunities. And I will finish it whether I'm elected or not. I want you to know this. I'm running to help as many students. This is why I want this position, is because I want to help as many students as quick as possible. And if I'm not elected, I'll still do it, but it'll probably take, instead of 15 days with the help of everybody, probably like 3 months.
Yeah, I'll just reemphasize, if you don't have the basic things that you need to be on campus and stay enrolled in school, again, food, parking, or housing, what can you possibly do here? Not much.
Thank you both for all of your responses. Before we proceed with the audience Q&A, there is food in the back, so please feel free to grab some and sit down before you ask your questions. As a final reminder, voting will open on the 20th and proceed through to the 24th, and so please, I imagine that if you are here, you do plan on being civically engaged in that way. Again, let me thank you for your attendance. It is you all and your engagement on campus that allows us to work towards a brighter UWT future. Additionally, upcoming events include the VP Public Forum, which will be digitally held, so you can join on Zoom, and that'll be on April 16th, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. And if you are interested in viewing that or submitting questions for that debate, please go to the ASUWT elections email or Instagram. The other event, which is the biggest event arguably of the campaign season, is Rock the Vote on April 21st, 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. This one will be really fun. There'll be free merch and free food, and it's really just a great time and a great way to celebrate all of the civic engagement and open dialogue on our campus. Thank you. We will now proceed with the audience Q&A for 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Hello? All right. My question's for Ismail. You made a lot of your campaign about being anti-ICE, but you still use generative AI for your campaign, which has a lot of ties to ICE, such as using Palantir on Israel Defense Forces to use AI and illegal biometrics on citizens. How can people trust you to act against ICE and be well informed on it?
So it's very simple why you can trust me for why I'm against ICE. I grew up in a family of, I come from a family of immigrants, and I spend most of my life scared to speak about my mother's status for for 20 years of my life. I'm 23, so only 3 years of my life I have not been scared to talk about this. So of course you can trust me. I'll fight against ICE any moment, without the title or with the title of president. And the ICE Out event that, as president of Multicultural Club that I started in February 18th, before I even decided to run for president or any of the such. And it will continue after I leave this school. I will still be fighting against ICE because when I see an ICE agent harass a mother, I see my own mother being harassed.
Thank you. Terrell, you are also allowed to respond to these questions if they're asked towards a specific person.
Yeah, and that's a great question. Absolutely, again, the ACT ticket does not support AI whatsoever. we do think that, yeah, as I said before, we really need to be looking into the companies that we're giving our time, attention, and money into. Again, AI is a great example of that. And yeah, that's all I've said. Thank you.
Hello, this is a question for both of you. A little context, I'm an urban design major, so this is going to come from here. As a rapidly growing commuter campus, parking and public transportation are a major concern for students. Students around the region and in Tacoma drive to campus. At UW-Tacoma, we have a lack of affordable parking and resources for students on campus to properly navigate transit around and to campus. The campus master plan calls for 11 parking lots, but this is a long-term vision. And because of recent budgetary turmoil experienced by Sound Transit, there have been proposals to delay or cut the Tacoma Dome station connecting UW-T to the rest of the region. Now, how do you intend to address the short-term parking concerns of students, such as costs and availability, and how will you advocate on behalf of students for the advancement of public transportation in our region to better connect students to the campus?
Who answers first?
Troy, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah, I think definitely upgrading public transportation in general and then looking at how we can increase, parking for students is very, very important. It's a multifaceted issue. First, on top of public transportation, I would work with Jake Fye, who is the public transportation chair for the legislature. I've spoken to him before. We have connections there, so that's definitely an option we could take. Regarding private transportation and parking, yes, using the old convention center, but also partnering with different businesses that own, the private lots is another option that we have. I've spoken to Councilmember Rumbaugh about parking specifically, and she gave me the option of using the old convention center as sort of a student zone parking permit pass at discounted rates, something under $100. So we're looking at multiple options right now. Also things like increasing street parking, specifically around the campus, so students don't have to park super far away or worry about getting ticketed as soon as their class ends. Those are all options that we're looking at.
I was not in student government before, but what I can promise you is the rate from the speed that I make deals, right? So for the Chamber of Commerce, I met that lady twice. I made a deal. I closed it the second time. For this problem, when I become president, if you vote for me, I'll close it just as quick, or I will hit it over and over and over again until they say yes. I will not stop until I help you guys, and if I fail to help you guys, I would resign, because I care about my integrity and my word more than I care about a title.
I have a question for you. Throughout the debate, you were saying you will provide opportunities, you will protect students, you will fight for them, but what actions do you plan to take to accomplish those goals?
All right. Easy. So for employment, there's pretty much, that's an easy one. Already have the deal with the Chamber of Commerce, then I talked to the dean, create the legal foundation. What would happen was that once that is, I pitch it to the dean will say yes, because I already have that side. And pretty much what happened is that the students will be like a program where students apply for a program that will get you to be in the private industry, right? And you'll get to finish projects for credits. And the positive for that for students is that you'll be inside the door, because I know the pain of sending a resume that never gets looked, but it's much easier if you're inside the room anyways. And for protecting the students against ICE and such, I've been creating coalitions for a while now, and I'll continue doing that whether or not I'm elected. So that's how I feel, and that's what I'm already doing.
Terrell, would you also like to respond to this question?
Yeah, so I've talked about food, parking, and housing extensively. I'll pivot a little bit. Something else that's on the ACT tickets agenda is campus safety. ICE is a campus safety issue. We definitely think that's problematic alongside the food, parking, and housing situation. So multiple people on the ACT team, including me, we've done advocacy down in Olympia to advocate for anti-ICE bills, the face coverings, and then the SAFE Act, which affects how ICE agents can interact with public universities. That's a very concrete thing that we will do to help address that, talking directly to legislative officials about improving these laws to create infrastructure to stop ICE from doing exactly what they're doing. We've also went down to the Northwest Detention Center and have done protests and rallies. There's been some really good work happening down there and at the city level to help address those issues. So I think just general advocacy is really the route we go with that. Thank you.
Terrell, I know that you've been talking a lot about being the city liaison. I was just wondering about the tangible impacts that you've created on our campus. I heard that you mentioned rallying. Could you talk a little bit more about how you've positively impacted UW-Tacoma through city initiatives? You as well, Ismail, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a big aspect about this that I have done is, first of all, just setting up the future for the city liaison position. Before me, at least from what I gathered from other people, the city liaison position was somewhat directionless. And this position is very important because University of Washington Tacoma is in Tacoma. We need relationships with the city to really thrive as students and just make sense. So really bolstering those relationships has been, I think, a positive for students so far. Just in that the city realizes what we're doing. Regarding more tangible things, again, like giving students opportunities. So I've been talking with the mayor's chief policy analyst, and he's given me advice and he's given me guidance on directing students to some of the city's boards and commissions. So that's direct internship experience and work with the city. I've also brought students in with my meetings with council members, which is, again, direct career experience. So I think a lot of it comes, at least right now, comes back to students really enriching their professional careers.
All right, my turn. So in terms of city connections and career, that, first off, I'm more of an entrepreneur, business person, so I don't see success in terms of relationships. I see success in terms of actually achievable, deliverable improvements on student life. So I see that as the relationship building is the work, but the only time I consider it a success is if I bring something back, tangible. Yeah.
It seems that one of you guys is focused on affordability and the other one is focused on long-term opportunity. What is the likelihood that you both are able to work together despite whoever gets elected? Because both of your guys' project would complement each other. So.
I mean, since I told you guys I'm going to do this anyways, right? Of course I'm going to work with government, student government. I want to help as many students as possible. It's just that if I'm elected leader for president, I know that I have the vision and I have the experience of working with businesses for over 12 months, right? So that will be completed very quickly in comparison if I'm not. But of course, I'll work with whoever's elected president because leadership is it's heavy. You hold the weight of responsibility, and that's a heavy burden to bear for anybody. And I respect anybody who bears that burden.
No, yeah, I'm definitely open to working with Ishmael, and to be frank, I want to. I think we're similar in a variety of different ways. He talks about cutting deals. Again, while I was working down in Olympia, I was working for the Washington Student Association. I was advocating for financial aid and the Washington College Grant, which I'm sure a lot of students here actually receive. I receive it myself. So we're very similar in that, a lot of it's just cutting deals and things. But I think, yeah, absolutely for the future, I'm completely down to hearing his ideas. I enjoy hearing your ideas right now, to be honest. So yeah, I'm definitely positive on that. Thank you for the question.
You guys both talked about amazing things. I heard a lot about city relationships and rallying and WSA. I just want to ask, since tri-campus relationships are very essential to reaching goals, what does that look like for the next school year, and how will you guys use the tri-campus relationships to reaching your goals?
Yeah, so absolutely, that's a very relevant question. I think something that needs to continue happening is Huskies on the Hill. Of course, this past year, I was a team lead for Huskies on the Hill, and my whole group was full of UW Seattle students, actually. I didn't have one UW Tacoma student at all. So it was a lovely experience. I enjoyed working with them, so I think this is something that's very doable. We need to continue being in meetings, making sure we're meeting up with them constantly. Actually, I just had a meeting with Aiden from the UW Bothell president. So this is something that's very important to me. I absolutely understand that tri-campus is very effective for completing our goals, especially when we're down to advocating Olympia. Together, we're much stronger when we're trying to get bills completed.
My stance on tri-campus coordination is that when you say coordination, is bringing something, right? Moving something, working as a team to build something, right? So if you elect me as president, my whole mindset when I look about going to Seattle and bringing resources is to bring resources to you guys, that's my whole thing. And Seattle's right there at the head of all new technology and private business and all of that such. So that would be my main takeaway, is to find a way to bring those resources here.
I think this will be our final question.
Good afternoon. One of the platforms here emphasizes justice and fairness with slogans like ICE is bad, which speaks to due process and accountability in larger systems. Do you believe all students deserve those same due process protections within student government? And if so, how would you ensure that in ASUWT, what specific mechanisms would you put in place to guarantee fairness, transparency, and accountability, especially given the current lack of a director of internal affairs and clear accountability structures? And where do you think that current processes could be improved?
For internal affairs, I'll get someone who's pretty much does not like me as a person. So he's not gonna say he's gonna be very unbiased, and that's pretty much my whole takeaway on that. In terms of fairness, I'm always open to hear everyone's point, right? And I'm not the type who's trying to silence anyone, right? And if you have a belief and you believe something and you believe you were wronged, I'm gonna hear you out completely and try to come to a solution. And if I'm wrong, I accept it fully.
Yeah, as a black man, it's in my best interest to make sure student government is very fair and just and equitable. I think that a lot of this comes down to, again, transparency. As I said before, I want every single student government member to upload videos on what they've been doing, but even more than that, actively interacting with students. I spent a lot of my time this year just talking to random students just constantly being on campus. The students know what the student government is doing. They can hold them accountable, and anything that's wrong that happens, students can just do something about it. It's when students are being kept in the dark that we get all these bad outcomes, I think. So again, communication is going to be very important for that.
Thank you both for all of your responses, and once again, thank you all for attending. They will be around for a couple, probably 20 minutes left until 1:30, and so feel free to go meet up with them and mingle and get to know your candidates better. Again, voting will open on the 20th and proceed through the 24th, and I hope to see you all at Rock the Vote.